Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 154 of the High Sensitivity Podcast, and thank you for listening. If it's your first time here, we talk about video game and movie news, as well as what we watched or played over the week. My name is Barry, along with my co-hosts.
My name is Craig. We in the building.
My name is also Craig, also in the building. I can't think of anything. I'm sorry.
And I guess what else is in the building other than news? That is what's in the building.
The news.
Pow, 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 pow.
Hope everybody had a good holiday weekend to those who celebrate Easter. So,
Yes.
what better way to bring in Jesus being reborn than with our podcast is my
Yes.
usual saying.
Yes.
So, let's bring that in. For news-wise, the largest debut film for an animated movie is now the Super Mario movie, making over $204.6 million this opening weekend, beating out Frozen 2, the previous holder of this record. Who would have thought that Mario would beat Frozen? I did not. And especially considering all of the not so much controversy around this movie, but just the polarizing reviews where critics don't like it, but regular people do. I've had a lot of people on my timeline for Twitter this evening just saying how the movie's good, but it's for kids, but that's what they're aiming for. So, overall good for this is a big kind of step up for video game movies, I think. And I really think it's kind of the next step in what, hopefully we start to see, better video game adaptations. Like we've already seen successful ones of The Last of Us, Super Mario movie now. I think the Sonic movies are good. I don't think they're bad movies whatsoever. I thought the reboot of Mortal Kombat wasn't terrible. Like we are having better and better video game movies come out, and I just think now that Nintendo franchise kind of owns a record in some sort, and yet again, records are meant to be broken, so something else will beat this. Probably Frozen 3 or Frozen 2.5. But overall, this is good news for any gaming community, and Nintendo is probably just swimming in their Mario-filled buckets of money.
All their coins.
Yeah, exactly.
Lots of coins. I saw there was like somebody had like Photoshop, the Marvel phase with all the movies. They had made a Nintendo one, and I had to look it up because it was hilarious. It was like they had Super Mario, Detective Pikachu, Zelda, Star Fox, Earthbound, Metroid, and then to tie it all together, like their Avengers, they had Super Smash Brothers. And I think that's just incredible. Like that would be so cool. Like I would be so down for it all to culminate in a Super Smash Brothers movie. That would be so cool.
Yeah, that would be pretty cool. Yeah, I would. I just don't know how that works. That would be I think that would be pull off. But
yeah, Super Smash Brothers does not hide the fact that the story is just kind of like it's
the hand,
like,
right? Mr. Hand, isn't he like the main villain?
Yeah. Master Hand.
I don't know. I think I would imagine that they're with the success this is having, that they're looking at other stuff. I think Kirby would be a good one, for sure. I think you could do a lot of different things. Zelda for sure, but I guess we have to wait and see what they decide. Donkey Kong, yeah, that would be cool.
I feel like it's really hard to touch Zelda. Like I feel like if we're the closest to any of them, I feel like could be a Metroid type thing. They would never make it horror, to be honest, as much as it would be like probably a cool horror franchise to do. I think what is it? I just had it announced now it's gone from me. I've lost it. The Nintendo property that would make a good movie. Star Fox. I think Star Fox wouldn't be a too bad of one because you can pretty much just do whatever you want with the story. Much like with Mario games, it's there's not a lot of story base to it, so you could just make a movie about Star Fox. I think that would probably be a pretty good one to go to.
Yeah, Star Fox deserves a resurgence too. As well.
I would agree.
Like that would be like because they kind of gave Kirby one, and I mean I don't know if you count Tropical Freeze as a Donkey Kong resurgence, but I mean it was a pretty fantastic game, But like I think Star Fox definitely deserves like a resurgence. That'd be the way to do it.
Yeah, I think the most obvious one would be Donkey Kong though, just because you already have an actor who's doing the voice. You
Yeah.
can just roll. You can roll right into it and bring in the other, Diddy Kong and Daisy, and I'm
I
forgetting
th-
all the others.
I
Funky
th-
Kong.
yeah, I think there's
Oh, Funky Kong.
I think Diddy could be in this movie, but I'm not completely sure.
Okay. Yeah, I haven't seen
Uh,
the movie yet.
yeah,
And I'm
neither have
fresh
I.
off playing Donkey Kong Country on Super Nintendo like these past couple weeks. So
Classic.
I love those games so much. They're so good.
That soundtrack. Oh my god.
Oof.
The
Yep,
soundtrack for
phenomenal.
Donkey Kong Country is phenomenal.
So we had Star Wars Fan Fest going on this week. We got trailers for Ahsoka, which looks so cool. I'm really excited
Hmm.
for that. We kind of have news on a one-off Star Wars movie called Dawn of the Jedi, or something like that. It's supposed to be like a Western weird movie where it's the start of the Force, the first Jedi to have the Force, is what they're going for with that one. What other series were announced? But those were like the two biggest ones. There are a lot of news how Ewan McGregor wants to do Obi-Wan season 2. Apparently Anakin or Hayden Christensen also wants to do something as well. So it's funny how like they're just continuing to like revive the old stuff we've watched before, but
Yep.
Mhm.
we really don't know. Oh, you know what? The other thing was the new Star Wars movies apparently, or there's going to be a
Yes.
Star Wars movie with Rey coming
Yep.
back and rebuilding the Republic or the Jedi Order. So we may have a start to what the next trilogy could be like, but we have to see. I feel like there's a lot of people who like, and I like Star Wars movies. I don't have an issue with it, but there are a lot of people who just think a lot of Star Wars stuff is trash right now.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
just keep that in mind for any outgoing Star Wars fans. But cool, I like seeing the new Star Wars stuff. Gets me excited.
Of course.
Anything you guys are particularly excited for?
I mean, the Daisy Ridley stuff is cool. Like getting her in more movies is definitely cool.
Yeah, I would second that too. I know we're getting a lot of Star Wars stuff, and like Mandalorian to certain people has become a little lukewarm as opposed to like the first season, which is unfortunate. But that's a lot of stuff I would love to see, like going back to building Jedi, just in general, building the order, that type of thing. That's good stuff. So I'm excited for that.
Yeah, Grand Admiral Thrawn. I don't. It just needs to be at least somewhat good, as good as the books are, and
Yep.
I will be happy because Admiral Thrawn. I'm willing to bet is almost a better villain than Vader if pulled off right.
Yeah,
So
it could be.
yeah,
Can we have like I don't know, like a 90s comedy series, but like starring all of like the Darths, and they have like some just like them living in a house, like maybe like a Golden Girls, which is not 90s, but like a Golden Girls thing, but just with like all the Darths, like Vader, Maul, like just all of them together. Like
I'd watch that.
I'd watch it. Like going through daily
yeah, but
tasks like,
but
dating
they take
and
themselves too seriously, like to do that.
yeah, they would.
I guess.
It would be
I'd tune
funny,
in.
but like, yeah, it would be funny, but like Lucasfilm would be like, no, how dare we do any of that with our Darth characters? Couldn't be
Yeah.
Well, it's Disney now. George Lucas has no say anymore.
fair enough, but
Nah,
yeah.
yeah, that's true. one
Lastly,
can
from my
one can
news
dream.
is we are get New Game Plus kind of came out in a surprise for God of War Ragnarok. So if you're looking for a reason to play that game or replay it, now here's your time. Comes with new armor sets as well. Level cap has been raised. Overall, I have way too many games to start playing, and Burning Shores comes
Yep.
out this week, so I'm not
Yes, it
touching it.
does.
Yeah, exactly.
And
I saw
I know
that too, and
Craig's
I went, okay.
Craig's
Yeah,
Craig's gonna
me?
go back and play it. Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, no. No reason to go back and play that game. I enjoyed the story, but that's a one and done game for me.
Yeah.
But that's all I have for news.
Oh, man.
If you guys want to go into what you guys have.
Sure. I got two in the movie area of the business, if you will. One, we have a live action Red Dead series coming from Sony, supposedly called Red Dead, and multiple seasons dealing with both games, Red Dead Redemption 1 and 2. I don't know if Red Dead Revolver is involved in that. That could be kind of cool. But the real question is, between you and I, Barry, this is what it should have been all along.
Yeah, yeah. Or at
Will
least
you watch this TV show?
I definitely have a lot more fond memories of Red Dead Redemption 1.
Yeah.
2,
Mhm.
I feel like if it's anything like the game, we're going to spend an entire season on the beginning, and it's going to be too slow, and I drop it. That's what it would be.
Could. It
So
could.
that would be like, of course, they're not going to, I think, but overall, like Red Dead Redemption is a good franchise to maybe pick and make a TV show out of. So I'm all good with it, but have to of course have to see how long it takes, because by the time they want to do this or this gets done, we probably won't see it for years, and everybody will forget how cool Red Dead Redemption 2 is because we're all playing Grand Theft Auto 7 or 6.
Yeah,
No, it'll still be 6.
Yeah,
it'll still be
6. You're
6.
right.
Yeah. For you two, I actually hope that the Cyberpunk Edge Runner syndrome would happen, where you guys would watch it and then you want to play it again. Like, I would really hope that you would watch that, like just Red Dead Redemption, the show, and then you're like, you know what? Maybe I should give it a chance. Like, maybe I should give the
Look,
second one a chance
I've
again.
given it enough chances. We've
Me
given
too.
it enough chances.
Yep. Yeah, that's the first thing I thought of was one, at least for me. One, I'm not fond of the second game, so it's going to be a hard sell, this TV show. Two, Westerns in general are a hard sell for people. Like, getting people emotionally interested in a Western is very hard. For me, like, Yellowstone works, and all like the sub TV shows that they've done, that's about the only Western show I've ever actually cared about. So you're going to get like the gamers who are like, yeah, it's Red Dead, but I don't know if this pulls in like The Last of Us did. I don't think so.
No, I mean, it'd have to be some pretty phenomenal acting. I mean, Last of Us has a story to match the acting
Right.
that we saw.
And it's not anything original, right? It's just a Western.
Yeah, in a lot of ways.
Yeah,
Yeah.
At the end of the day,
it's a West. I mean, yeah, I mean, like, it's a Western with Max Payne slow down time. You know,
Yeah.
that's essentially what it is. I mean, like what's the last successful Western show?
Yellowstone.
Besides that, I mean, like, before
Besides
that,
Yellowstone,
because in my mind, I have Deadwood,
Bonanza,
and Yellowstone. Okay, Bonanza. Well, yeah, Bonanza. That one too.
That's real old
others.
though. Deadwood
Yeah.
is a good pull though. That probably is the last decent Western.
Yeah. So.
All right, next one is we're also getting from Legendary. We're getting a Street Fighter movie again. I'm assuming because Mortal Kombat did so well. I don't know about you guys, but I have a special place in my heart for that 90s Street Fighter movie.
Yes,
with
great.
Jean-Claude.
Never
Man,
it's great.
Whoo, it's so
You
good.
should. Yo, M. Bison in that. Oh my gosh.
Oh, man. I it's a horrible movie, but it's so bad it's good.
It is.
I mean, I guess Mortal Kombat works, so why not? Maybe.
Yeah, like, I'm excited. I feel so. I recently watched. I don't know if I said it on the podcast, but I tried, like, in the last couple of years to watch like the original Mortal Kombat's, and I could not get through them. But I am fully confident that I could go back to that Street Fighter movie and just experience the same things as a kid and love it. For its terribleness. Like, there's a niche in movies and media where you're loving it for its terribleness, and like that's kind of what that is to me. So I would definitely watch a new adaptation for Street Fighter. Definitely.
Yeah. All right, and I'm gonna switch over to games now. This one is for you, Barry.
Yep.
Your favorite game, one of your favorite games to ever come out that you never played, Agony. You remember that game?
Yes.
The somewhat follow-up, Succubus VR, has been banned from Steam, and I think you can guess why.
Yeah, I can't imagine. I can't imagine.
Oh man, I saw that and I was like, with that news, putting that news out there is only helping this developer sell more copies of this game, because all you have to say is it was banned from Steam, and this game that probably isn't good at all is going to get a lot more downloads now.
Well, it was funny because I follow like Oculus VR stuff on like Reddit, and it's just a ton of people asking, "How do I get this game on here?"
Of course.
Yeah. So it is really funny just like seeing all this, because I had heard of it being banned, but I just thought it was so funny that it takes a game being banned, and then everybody's like, hey, what are the black market sites to get this on my Meta
Yeah.
Quest for? It is, some of it's just hilarious too, the comments. So
The
look
How
for
do I
those
get this
threads.
game?
It's worth it.
the craziest thing to me though is that's saying something to get banned from Steam, because you can get just about anything on Steam,
You
Yeah.
can.
right? Like adult only rated games are on Steam now. So the
Yes.
fact that it got banned is crazy to me. Like, I didn't look up anything as far as like gameplay or anything like that, because I just don't care about Agony or any of those games. But that just blew my mind. I was like, how does it get banned from Steam when there's like so many things that are just insane that are on that, available for purchase every day on there.
Exactly. Yeah. No, I agree.
And then the last one I have here is Nintendo is on the hunt, looking for the man who leaked the Zelda art book. I thought this was just kind of funny. So apparently, the art book for the new Zelda was leaked by someone on Discord in February. And now Nintendo and their army of lawyers are trying to figure out the identity of this Discord user. It's so Nintendo that they're going after somebody for leaking an art book. Like, it's
Yeah.
not even like a
Of
game
all
or
things.
gameplay video. No, it's just an art book. So whoever you are out there, run and hide, I guess, because
Yes.
they're coming.
They probably already
I'm just
found him.
picturing I'm
Yeah.
just picturing Nintendo and their army of lawyers being just like a bunch of Koopas behind, like just
Yep.
running around, just looking.
Yep. That's just crazy. I feel like any other company, when this kind of stuff happens, they're like, oh, that sucks. Anyway. And then they just move on. But Nintendo is just, man, they'll come after you for the littlest thing. They do not care.
They do not.
But yeah, that's all I have.
But Craig, just before you get into your
Yeah.
news, unless do you have
Yeah, yeah.
anything about the Harry Potter stuff in your news at
No, I
all?
don't.
So I
No.
just wanted to ask your guys' opinion on this. If
Okay.
you haven't heard, HBO is looking to reboot the Harry
Yep.
Potter franchise. A season a book is kind of what they're
Mhm.
going for. To my surprise, to me personally, a lot of people are upset. They don't want the
Yeah.
books to be turned into TV shows. I wanted to know how you guys feel.
Were more people reacting to just like the latest, like, do people not want it to be a series because they don't want any more JK Rowling content, or are they more so like, don't tarnish the book
Don't
by
I think
tarnish the movies is
or
what
don't tarnish
don't
the
people.
tarnish the
movies by
movies.
make
Yeah.
um I need a series for the third book. That movie was too short. That
Yep.
would be that's a Craig personal thing where I just need the third book, Prisoner of Azkaban, to actually have a series, because that was one of my favorite books growing up, and I thought the movie was too short when I saw it in theaters when I was younger. But as far as like the whole general thing, I actually don't have a um upset feeling about it. Can watch I would actually like to see some new adaptation or new version, new direction of the books on either film or, television. So, I mean, I don't think I would be upset about it. I would actually be pretty excited for it. That's my gut saying that.
Yeah, I think it's part of me says like, Harry Potter, the film or anything adaptation from a book is Daniel Radcliffe and all those people. So it's hard to be like, we already have that. We don't need it. But also, as someone who has read all the books, I look at it as like, man, if you can give me, if we're talking like maybe 8 to 10 episodes, if you can give me 8 to 10 hours for each book, I will watch that, because there is so much stuff from the books that didn't make it in the films that I wish would have.
Yeah.
And I think they can really take the time to kind of dive into everything. And it could be really cool. It's just a matter of convincing people that no, this isn't Daniel Radcliffe, but it's still somebody who can pull off Harry Potter, is going to be very hard, because Daniel Radcliffe is a lot of people's childhood.
Yeah, and the rare thing they got with the movies is they fortunately were able to have Radcliffe
Mm-hmm.
like as he was aging too. I mean, they could probably still do something similar, but you have to pick the right actor like
Right.
at the age that you're trying to nail. and then he essentially has to grow with the series. So unless they're planning on using 2 or 3 or 4, I don't, maybe not 4, that's exaggerating, but 2 to 3 different actors who have a similar look, or if they're planning on releasing it in a way to allow the actual person to age, that
Well,
would be a challenging thing too as well.
if they're doing 8 seasons, and at the very least it would be a season a year, it might be a season every 2 years if they're
That's what
filming.
I was thinking. Yeah.
Then whoever they pick would grow up
True.
with the show and be okay. You just have to get somebody who's, I forget how old he is, 12 in the first book, I think.
Yeah. Yes. Something like that.
I feel like that would work, right? You just pick somebody and stick with them. I'm cautiously excited, as long as they can also distance themselves from J.K. Rowling some more.
Yeah, that'll be the hardest part of it both, but like, that both of your responses are what like I was thinking as well. Like for me, I get that people complain about how, oh, are we this like dead creatively, like we need to reboot
Yeah.
these movies. Like I get it was a magical quote unquote time when the movies came out, but other than Hogwarts Legacy and kind of the really mixed reception the new like Fantastic Beast movies are getting,
Yeah.
like isn't more Harry Potter a good thing for those fans? That's why I'm like, I don't get it. Like I get it. It will take you the first season you're going to hate it because it's not Daniel Radcliffe and Emma Watson and
Yeah.
the actor that plays Ron
Rupert
Weasley, I'm
Rupert
Rupert
Grint.
Grint.
Rupert Grint.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Rupert Grint.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like I get that it's not those three, but why not like have something
You could
as
use
long
them
as
as
it's
cameos.
yeah, as long as
You
it's
could
good,
definitely use
what
them
does
as
it matter?
cameos.
Yeah. I guess the closest thing I could think of is if it's not quite the same, but if you were to say like, oh, Disney is going to reboot the first 3 Star Wars movies as a TV show, as in like 4, 5, and 6, I think people would be upset. Or Amazon is going to reboot the first 3 Lord of the Rings books into 6 or 7 or 8 seasons with different people. I feel like people would be upset about that too. They'd be like,
Kinda.
no, don't touch that. But I think Lord of the Rings is probably the closest, because those books have so much stuff in them that you could be
They
like,
do.
hey, each book is going to be 2 seasons or maybe 3, because there's
Yeah.
a lot. And people would be like, no, don't touch my Lord of the Rings movies. I think it's the same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you know what's funny? Now that you mention that, I would feel I'm more attached to Frodo as portrayed in those movies not being touched for some reason than I am than Harry Potter. Like when you were saying that, I kind of was just like, no, there's only one Frodo. But like that's not what
Yeah.
came to mind when Barry asked us the initial question about the Harry Potter series. So I don't know. That's like that's a good
Yeah.
point though.
Yeah.
You can go into your news now. Sorry for the side.
Oh no, I'm glad you asked that question. Did you guys see the thing about the Sony handheld?
Yeah, yes, I did.
Okay, yeah, I wanted to talk about that for a little bit. So there's a guy named Tom Henderson at Insider Gaming who is the only one reporting as of this moment, I believe, but reporting that that Sony is working on a handheld called the Q Lite. The Q Lite will resemble essentially a PS5 controller with a large screen in the center. They didn't get any of their ideas from the Switch. Things that it's supposed to feature is an 8-inch LCD screen, the haptic feedback and all those and the triggers that were expected. And it's basically not supposed to be like a Vita, so it's not like a standalone device.
Yeah,
It's
you need the
designed,
PS5. Yep.
yeah, so it's designed for remote play,
Like a Steam Deck.
um, like a Steam Deck.
Mm-hmm.
Now, like, I was excited to hear it until I heard that it wasn't a standalone device, because I did miss the Vita phase. I did not own a Vita, even though I'm a big Sony guy. But I thought that was very interesting. Like there's even projections or rumors that it would kind of come out in line with and have to be used with the PS5 Pro. Which I believe if we're going with PS4 Pro lifespan, shouldn't that technically come out this Christmas? Is that the right amount of years between a
Probably.
PS5 and a, yeah, so
Trying not to think about
I
that. I cannot
I know.
see.
Yeah.
Now, I want to ask you guys what you think. I just wanted to say one thing before I do. I was annoyed at myself as a consumer because I actually got excited for 5 seconds before uh, my rational mind
Yeah.
came into view. I got excited for, every time they show a handheld or like something like the Steam Deck or like the Switch, they show somebody playing it with the TV, and then they show them like getting up because they have to do something else in their home, and then they're like, "Oh, look
Yep.
what I can do." I got
Yep.
excited for that moment where I could just say, "You know what? I don't think I'm done playing God of War Ragnarok for the 18th time. So I think I'm going to take it to bed and play it there." But I don't know. What do you guys think?
um So that was my first initial thought when the Switch came out, was like, man, that's gonna be so cool to play at night before I go to bed. And in reality, how often do I do that? Not very often. I will say that streaming from my Xbox to my iPad when I'm on vacation and just taking my Elite controller is awesome, but I don't go on vacation enough to use it all the time, right? So like that's why I didn't buy a Steam Deck, because my first initial thought was like, oh man, I can play all my PC games on my couch, and then I was like, how often am I going to do that? Not very often. So I
Yeah.
think it's a cool idea. I just don't know it's something that I would use enough to justify what I'm sure is going to be a pretty high price. Um, I don't know. For somebody who travels a lot, well, I don't know. Does it run off? Are you streaming from your PS5 like the
Yes.
Steam Deck? So you could
Mhm.
do it when you're away from home, right? If
I
you have
think so,
Wi-Fi.
yeah, I think so, yeah.
Theoretically,
Okay. Yeah.
theoretically, yes. Without knowing too
Okay.
much information, that's the speculation.
I mean, yeah, that idea, if I was traveling a lot, being like, all right, I'll bring my iPad and my Xbox Elite controller, and then I can bring my whatever this is called, and then I have access to my Xbox and my PlayStation 5 wherever I go. That's a cool idea. And also your computer, if you have the Steam Deck, that makes everything completely portable along with the Switch. But in reality, am I going to buy it? Probably not.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I don't
I thought
I,
the same
I
thing.
don't see myself really getting into it much either. I would have actually preferred the idea of a Vita, like for the most
Yeah.
part, or like a Vita 2.0 or whatever they wanted to do, but I don't think Sony wants to take that chance again, not with how the Vita was received. And like to be fair, I think the Vita was ahead of its time. It
Yep.
did cost a pretty penny for it. It was much more expensive than the other consoles. It had a lot more power, but then also Sony didn't put out new games for it. Like we've seen that Nintendo pretty much has the stranglehold on the mobile market for, or handheld gaming, I should say, for the most part, where it's going to be very hard for any company to really come in and do the same thing unless you're coming out with the support that Nintendo has. So unless Sony's coming out with a Horizon, a God of War, an Uncharted, a Last of Us, or any of their first party titles to come and be exclusive also on the Vita, you're going to have a hard time selling that console. Just because anybody who bought a Vita, yes, was probably happy with it to a point, but also
Yeah.
realized that Sony didn't support it enough. So where where I see it is, uh, I'm not a person like who has like a family that needs to be watching TV. Like I could see like my like if I had a kid playing PS5, but it's on like the family TV or something, he could at
Right.
least take
Mhm.
that and then play his PS5 in his room, or of that or any of that nature there. Where I don't really have that, so it's not really a problem for me. I don't really need to kick anybody off of my TV. I'm like, hey, I'm playing games, and
Yeah.
that's the final word on it.
Yeah.
Yeah. It'd be interesting to see, especially because Sony has had weird hardware leaps in the last couple of years. Like, I mean, you heard me, like, we were complaining about the battery life of that new Pro controller that they had released. Um, the PSVR 2 was substantially below what their expectancy was. It sold, like, it was supposed to sell almost 2 million units. I think it had like over 250,000 instead of that. And to put it in perspective, when Connect came out, like back in the day, even like Xbox Connect, that sold like I think it was somewhere between 6 to 8 million units when it came
Yeah.
out. Now, granted, it was a significantly, well, I don't remember how much it was when it came out, but I gotta think it was
It
less
was
expensive.
150, I
So
think.
that's why.
Sounds about
That would
right.
be
Yeah,
that'd be a big
yeah,
reason why. It's just that Sony hasn't taken leaps and bounds with hardware since the PS5. Like
yeah,
all of their support things have not really, they've either been too expensive, not appealing, or something. So I don't know. I'm interested in following the story, but not necessarily purchasing one anytime soon.
yeah.
What was the other thing I had? Oh yeah. So did you guys hear that Stranger Things is apparently possibly getting like a cartoon
Yeah.
coming out? Yeah. So it's gonna basically be focused more on the upside down world, but that's like the rumor that's coming out is that there is going to be presumably, sorry, the upside down. I don't know why I added world to that. But yeah. But yeah, it's apparently going to be more based on that, but they're coming out with something animated, which if we were talking just like we were talking earlier about content being released, expansive content being released, whether it's animated or not, could be something great. You know, I know that we're all kind of getting that sad feeling about the end of Stranger Things and like what that feels like. So like, I don't know, would you guys watch an animated series from them or
I'll
about
try
them?
it.
Depends on what it's about. Like, is it
Yeah.
like for me? Like, I've got no problem watching anime stuff or animated. I am the anime guy of the podcast, so
Mhm.
I've got no problem with
Are
that.
you?
It's more or less, oh, for sure. But I guess it really depends on what they're doing with it. Is it like an adult animated thing? Is it um?
It's like Saturday morning cartoon kind of thing.
So it would be more geared toward kids, I imagine, right?
Teenagers,
I
probably.
don't know how
Yeah.
you make
Yeah.
the upside down a kid friendly thing, but
Right.
You
that's what
lighten
I
those
mean.
colors. Use a lot of lighter colors or something
Yeah,
because it
Yeah.
definitely
yeah,
looks dark there.
yeah. I just don't know. I just don't know what you do with it or how you make it appealing to masses.
Yeah. It almost reminds me of like uh what the boys did with their cartoon, like to
Yeah,
further
yeah.
expand on the universe. Like I could see them not doing like a super mature thing, but like kind of along those lines of expanding the universe, the Stranger Things universe like that.
Yeah, and I like that series by the boys.
Hmm.
That
Yeah, it
expansion.
was good.
It
Diabolical, I
was.
think it was called.
Yeah,
Yeah,
diabolical.
what it was.
Most of them were good. Most episodes were
Yeah, most. Yes, that's
good.
right. Um, so two more. There was some. There was a leak through Twitter, showing some footage of Persona 3 and possibly a remake,
Yeah.
happening, as well as Jet Set Radio.
Yes.
Um, this
Even
comes
better.
right in line. Yeah, I know, and like I thought that that was a nice combination of games to basically get everybody happy. Um,
Hmm.
I felt personally attached to the article because I'm currently powering through Persona 4 Golden on Game Pass, trying to get that done before all these games come out. And I think what was stopping me from trying Persona 3, what is it, Portable? Persona 3 Portable was I think it was too the graphics were too backdated for me. Despite the remaster, you know. So I'm excited to see that. Also Jet Set Radio, bro.
Yeah.
Like come on.
I'll take that.
Yeah, I'll take
That's like
both.
a I can't even say that's like a cult classic because I feel like that's a well respected game, Jet Set. Everybody I think is at least most people have at least tried that game at some point.
Yeah, the only thing I've heard about that stuff coming out is apparently Atlas is also branded with a pachinko machine company, and that to be
Yeah.
wary as they may just be making pachinko themed, like pachinko machines that are themed, Persona 3 and Jet Set. So it's like,
Yeah.
okay, well I guess we have
Okay.
to see. I hope we get a Persona 3 remaster and a Jet Set remaster. For me, Persona 3 is a good game, but it lacks a lot of the polish that we get out of 5. So if you
Mhm.
can
Yeah.
just make it polished like 5 is, give us the same story and everything like that, it's going to be a well received game, and you only have more momentum as Persona 5, why just not make 3 more playable for everybody else? So that's my
Yeah,
thinking.
Yeah.
and apparently it's in works in tandem with Persona 6. So like as a Persona fan, a young Persona fan, but like I'm happy. Um and then the last thing was more of a clarification. As you guys know, and a lot of the gaming world knows, the port for The Last of Us was not well received at all. Multiple bugs, to the point where the game was essentially unplayable for a lot of PC players. I'm pretty sure, was that Barry? Was that you that reported on it last week? I know one of y'all said
Yeah,
that,
yeah,
but
yeah, yeah. It was me.
I wanted to just like kind of go through a clarification for some of you at home that are just like really mad at Naughty Dog, but like technically this is Sony's fault. And the reason it is Sony has the opportunity to choose who is in charge, like what developer is in charge of the remake. Who they chose was Iron Galaxy, which Iron Galaxy, one of their most known flubs, unfortunately, was the Arkham Knight port, like the infamous terrible Arkham Knight port. But they were also on the team that just did the Metroid Prime one. So it's like,
2 different
I don't
worlds
know,
there.
it's two
Yeah.
different worlds. But people, you look at Naughty Dog and you think it's Naughty Dog's fault, but technically, just for that's Sony choosing who is in charge of the port, and they dropped the ball on that particular port most definitely. So
Hmm.
please keep Naughty Dog's respect in your head. I just had to clarify that. And that's all the news I got.
All right, we're gonna get into games this week, which you guys will be terribly disappointed with me. I really haven't
Oh.
played anything new, but I do have a little bit of an expose of
Oh
Okay.
my god.
I spent the last 4 days teaching my mom to play video games.
Oh, nice.
What?
What was she
Mhm.
playing?
What was she
So
playing?
and I've told you guys about this personally before, but so my mom got a PS5 solely for
Mm.
Hogwarts Legacy. That is
Yes,
the
yes, she
only
did.
reason she wants to game is Hogwarts Legacy. So I have a little bit of my own experience with it, and maybe you guys might have a little bit of or share your own experiences if you have any of maybe teaching your parents
Yeah.
to play video games. But before I get into that, like what did you guys play?
So fresh off of finishing the Resident Evil 4 remake last week, I powered through and beat the Dead Space
Dead
remake this week.
Space.
Yep. I wanted to make sure I got both of those done. I started Metroid Prime Remaster, and I also played some PGA Tour, whatever
23.
the Masters, whatever they call
Oh
it.
yeah. Okay.
Man, you're the gamer I wish I could be, Craig. Man,
Yeah.
To
I
be
hate
fair,
Just
and I do want to throw out there too that the PGA Tour is one of the 10-hour trials available with EA Play.
yeah,
So
yeah.
everybody, if you
gotcha.
have Game Pass, you can go play that. It was actually available on Tuesday, so like 3 days before the game came out. But yeah, those are the three I played.
All right, it's a little light for me this week too. I already mentioned earlier. I'm kind of trying to get through Persona 4 Golden, um, and then I can give like a actual review when I'm done. I'm in December, which if there's any Persona fans means that I'm almost at the end. So, well, getting there, so to speak, if we're talking month wise, and then I I am enjoying Resident Evil 4 Remake the way you enjoy a $250 glass of wine. I'm taking it chapter through chapter. I love every second of it. And it's not a scary game. We decided this as a group
It has
here.
its moments, but yeah,
It has its moments, but
Mhm.
it's very manageable for jumpy people like myself. But I am not ashamed to say that I'm taking my time and I'm on chapter, I guess I would say 11 or 12. I could talk more about it when I talk about the
Sure.
games.
I was just about to ask if you guys both gave up on that game.
No, I
Heck
haven't.
no.
No.
Okay, that's good
I
to hear.
No.
yeah, I will get back to that game. It's just that when after my parents left, I just decided I'm trying to beat Hogwarts Legacy. That's where I'm at right now.
Okay,
So I'm trying to get through that, which I know I'm doing a good job of, but I guess really I can only take one
Yeah.
game at a time here. because I'm
Yeah.
right now I'm trying to beat two games, and it's that one and Serazen the Lost Demon. So we'll
Okay.
see how
Yes,
we go
yes,
there.
yes.
But so what I'll do is I'll talk about my stuff because it really doesn't have to do with video games.
Hmm.
But teaching your parent how to play video games. It is
Dun
a
dun
very
dun.
interesting topic. It's more older people I think are getting into video games now. Like gaming is kind of as big as it ever has been ever since COVID. And really like I take for granted like and I think we take for granted growing up with video games because like we're able to move two joysticks at once and know what we're doing with it. We're able to memorize where all the buttons are for each of the three major consoles that come out. I'll admit
Yeah.
I still get the Switch mixed up sometimes because they're the same letters as
Hmm.
Xbox. But overall, it was it was a very patience trying experience for me.
I can
Because
imagine.
uh like Hogwarts Legacy just is not a game that I think is a good starter game for people to get into. There
Not
Yeah,
at
it's
are
in
all.
depth.
yeah, exactly. There are too many side quests. There are too many mechanics. There is way too like it's a huge map, as well to explore.
Yeah.
Like
The
it was
spells.
yeah, it was
Hmm.
really hard for her to like manage everything, and it's just like even on story mode, it's trying to teach her how to play the game. I'm trying to teach her how to play the game, and it's like I forget like wow, there is a lot of things that I have to explain here. I have to explain a map. I have to explain gear, which she's playing on story mode, so I didn't even get her into gear. I'm just trying to keep things simple for the most part.
Yeah.
But it was like it's just nice to see like my mom wants to try to get into video games, something that's been such a big part of my life since I was a kid,
Yeah.
and now I'm trying to get my mom to learn it, and it's just like her hands don't move like ours do. You know,
Yeah.
she needs to look at the controller for where R1 and L2 are, and she doesn't understand the difference between left and right stick. So it's it was definitely like a trying experience, and I just hope that she continues to play it. She was having fun while playing it, but you know, puzzles, she wasn't the biggest. She just wanted to do the Hogwarts stuff. She just wanted
She
to
just wants to. She just wants to
yeah,
run around Hogwarts. Let's be.
yeah, yeah, she just
Yeah.
wants to do that stuff. But it was I kept thinking to myself, are there any games that are really I guess like beginner friendly to new
Yeah.
people
Anything from.
getting into video games later? Cuz as a teenager, my dad and I played Modern Warfare 2. And in the end, Modern
Mm,
Warfare 2 is pretty an easy game to kind of explain. You
Yeah.
really are your primary buttons are move, camera, and shoot. As long as you can do those three things, you probably get pretty far in Call of Duty and learn everything else the rest of the way. Where Hogwarts, because it's an RPG, is so many complicated things going on at
Yeah.
once and trying to teach you at once that it really is it can really be overwhelming to somebody
yeah.
who to somebody who's never played that type of game before. But I want to know like for you guys like have you had experiences like this? What
Yeah.
game was it? What games do you recommend for somebody to maybe learn? Like that's where
Um,
Uh,
I have to say first, Barry. Let me say this with Hogwarts specifically. I even had issues with my wife playing that game where she didn't understand gear because like she plays
mm,
games, right? But like she plays very specific, like the Lego games, Sims, um,
mhm.
music, rhythm games, rock band, DDR, that kind of stuff. But she had never really played an RPG. So she could handle the basic stuff. But I remember because like I'm playing down here on my Xbox, she's playing upstairs on the PlayStation 5. And I went up to and she was playing the one time and I was like, she had her pause menu up. And I was like, why aren't you changing out your gear? Your gear is still like the base level gear. And she's like, what do you mean? And in like my mind, we don't even think about it, right? We're like,
Yeah, you're
oh, we
just like,
need the number to go up, right?
yeah,
Whatever one has the highest
optimize.
number. Yeah. But like for somebody who doesn't play RPGs, that was her first RPG. She didn't know about any of that and was like, oh, and it was kind of hard to explain it at first, but eventually she got it. But yeah, That's funny when you said that. I was like, yeah, even people who play games still have issues because it's such an in-depth game. They almost need like an easier mode where they take out gear score and all that and just let you go. I feel like that would be cool.
Yeah, that should
Um,
have been what story
Well,
mode was, right?
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
and it was difficult explaining barriers to her, like in
Mm,
Hogwarts Legacy.
Oh, yeah,
Like
yeah.
in easy mode, though, like I did notice in easy mode, you could just cast basic spell and it does a little bit of damage.
sure.
But and they do try to make it easy. There's a huge command prompt when somebody's trying to attack you or when you need to do protego or dodge. Like they do make that a little bit easier, but it's just a matter of like teaching her fast travel was a whole nother thing as well, because she, the first walk to Hogsmeade, she's like, "Oh my god, this is taking forever." I'm like, "Yes, but you'll later learn to do fast travel." So I teach her fast travel, and the thing is the map is so cluttered with
Yeah,
so many things, it's kind of hard to tell her, like, okay, you need to find flue flames. Then once you get to a flue flame, you activate the fast travel point. And then you need to remember where that fast travel point is, because the
Yeah,
Hogwarts tower, like it
yeah,
is kind of a jumbled mess to find
it
which
is.
flue
yeah,
flame you want to go to. And
it is.
it was a like I said, this the reason I talk about it so much is because it was kind of an eye-opening experience for me,
Sure.
because she is a brand new infant child to video games.
Yeah,
And her our brains work differently because we've been
yeah.
playing them all of our lives.
Um, like for me though, like my dad is the one who gave, well, didn't give, but like let me play an Atari. Um, his Atari that was at his mom's house. That was like my first introduction. So like he had always played games since they came out, which would have been when he was a teenager. But I still taught him like the college football games when
Yeah.
they came out, especially on like
Okay.
PlayStation 2. That was like his thing. He saw me playing that. And I remember distinctly like doing the franchise Dynasty, right? And he'd
Hmm.
be like, "Oh, you can do like multiple years in recruiting and all that." I'm like, "Oh yeah, you can go real in depth." And since that time, like he still plays um college football games on PlayStation 2. Like he never
Oh,
upgraded
wow.
past PlayStation 2.
Yeah.
And like I've been hinting that like, "Hey, the college football is coming out next year. We'll have to get you a PlayStation 5 so you can," but I don't know if he will. But my mom, the only thing that I ever got her on gaming wise was Wii Sports. And like that
Okay.
was even insanely difficult for her to like teach her how to like bowl. That
Yeah.
first time I came home from college and I had my Wii and I plugged it into their TV in the living room and I was like, "You got to try bowling. We got to do bowling." And her being like, what button do I have to hold down?" And then I was like, "All right, now you got to let go." And like even teaching her that was like a 20-minute ordeal. So like you do have to like turn off our gamer brains because we're so used to it and be like, "All right, how
Yeah.
would a normal person look at a controller?" Because I was just like, hold the back button and let go when you do your upswing. She had no idea, and it was just so
Yeah.
funny, and it can be frustrating. But like, I do feel like we get detached as far as for us how easily we go from one game to the next, and we're like, "Oh yeah, this control scheme, cool. I'm gonna go play
Yeah. And then
Dead
you just
Space. All
get
right,
right
now I'm
into
gonna go
yeah.
play." Yeah, we don't even think about it anymore. But it
Yeah.
is rough for newer people.
Yeah. I mean, number one starter game, Rock Band, something like
Mm-hmm.
that. Like that's how you get people into gaming.
Mm-hmm.
Is there, or at least something like that's what the Wii, I thought the Wii was good at,
Yeah.
was getting people who don't normally game because of its interactive nature and how they really promoted it and promoted the games towards like family entertainment, group entertainment. That's like kind of the way to get it in. I mean, you're not going to throw somebody a From Software game and say, "Here, this is your first game,"
Yeah.
like that type of thing. My parents were never into gaming in my like teenager, preteen years and such like that. I have a distinct memory of hearing the Tetris sounds as a kid because for some reason the Nintendo was in my room growing up. So like my mom's extent of video games is Tetris, like OG.
Mhm.
OG Tetris. And then my dad, I mean, I think he got as far as Rampage on Nintendo. He
Mhm.
played. I remember him playing that with me. But they never really once Super Nintendo came out, and there were four inputs that you use for your right hand. There was no way I was teaching my parents, even as a 9-year-old. Not the way
Yeah.
not the way 8-year-olds are teaching their parents technology now. Like, this is an iPad. Look what you can, like,
Yeah.
like that type of thing. So
Yeah, I do feel like for like our generation, Nintendo was like the cutoff for a lot of parents. Like my dad would stay up, I would go to bed late at night when I was little, and I would hear him still playing Tecmo Super Bowl on Nintendo,
sick.
like
That's awesome.
late into the night. He would break a lot of controllers playing Tecmo. But I felt like after that, for me, it was Sega, not Super Nintendo. Like he had no desire to touch that thing. Super Nintendo, PlayStation, he did not care whatsoever. He enjoyed like going to the store with me and seeing what games I was playing, but he had no interest in actually playing them.
Yeah, yeah, that makes sense. I just wish there were easier games, or like I wish somebody released a guide on like,
Yeah,
okay,
Yeah.
here's here's how to slowly
gaming
introduce
for
your
dummies.
parent. Yeah, here's how to
Games for
slowly
them.
introduce
Yeah.
your parent to video games, and like, cuz you know, you guys are right. Like RPGs I think tend to be the hardest ones to really tell people what to do or how
Yep.
to
Yeah.
explain them, because there are just so many mechanics going on. But you know, overall, now I have to give you guys an update. I'll have to let you know
Yeah.
if she continues to
Yeah.
play Hogwarts Legacy
See if she
after.
sticks with it.
Yeah.
I really hope she does. We spent many hours this weekend trying to. I wanted her to be
Fantastic.
comfortable before we left, and I just know she's gonna. I know my mom's gonna be calling me every time she turns on the
Yep.
PlayStation, asking me
Yeah.
how do I play this thing. And I feel
Yeah.
like I should have printed out a diagram of what a PS5 controller looks like and all the buttons
Yeah.
that it
Mm.
does.
Yeah. Just
Wait till
So
draw
she
little
gets
arrows.
yeah,
wait till she gets the broom.
Nah.
she
Yeah.
saw me play like later in the game, and she saw like the size of the map, and she's like, "No." I'm like, "Yeah, that's
Yeah, that's
this is Hogwarts. You
Yep.
but once you activate Flu Flames, it's easy. But
Yeah.
until then, it's a lot of walking and flying around."
True.
in all fairness, that first Hogsmeade walk is a Red Dead length
It
of a
is.
walk.
It
But I
is.
mean, there's talking going on as such. They have to outline the game. But
I never did that walk again after that
yeah,
first time. Not one
Yeah,
time.
yeah,
yeah.
That strip of land does not exist in my mind in that game.
Just boop
yes.
boop over to each one. I
Yep.
get it.
Yep.
But that's my experience this week with games.
Okay.
I'm hoping to be able to finish Legacy and Cereza and the Lost Demon sometime this week. But let's
Cool.
get into what
Awesome.
you guys played.
All right. So
Okay.
Dead Space, cleared that out because I knew I was like fresh off Resident Evil. I need to get Dead Space done because in my mind I really wanted to compare the two and be like, which one in my mind is the better remake? And I still don't know. They're so close.
Are they?
Yeah. I even I watched somebody speed run Resident Evil 4, like the old version, this past week, and I was like, man, they changed so much that I didn't even realize from the original to the remake. I feel like the Dead Space remake is more true to the original than Resident Evil 4 is.
Okay.
They both look good and they're both a ton of fun to play. So much so that like I started a new game plus on both of them. I didn't get very far, but I was like, as soon as I beat it, I was like, "Yep, let's go back in with my upgraded guns on both." Um, and it's gonna be tough for me to decide which one's better. I think I have more recent memories with Dead Space because I had just played through it like last year, and I think that helps a little bit. But man, they're both so good. Like those remakes are just phenomenal. Obviously, Dead Space is the scarier of the two than Resident Evil 4. But man, I had such a blast playing through Dead Space again, less than like 6 months later. And I don't think you can go wrong with either. I think I'm going to wait until the end of the year to try to decide that. Because I feel like these are going
Okay.
to be the two that are sitting at the top for best remake, right?
Yeah, most
Like what else
likely.
is going to
Yeah.
come close?
Yeah, like well, like for you guys, not really much, but there is like the Advanced Wars remake
Right?
that's out in April
Yeah,
here.
yeah,
But
yeah.
other than that, we really haven't heard too
Metroid
much about.
Prime.
Metroid
Yeah,
Prime.
Metroid Prime. So yeah,
Yep.
other than like those like 4 games that we've kind of mentioned here, there hasn't been a lot of talk of what remakes are to come later on this year. So we
Yeah.
have to, we have to wait and see what they're deciding to remake.
True. Along those lines, Metroid Prime Remastered, I just started. I did like the first level today.
Mhm.
I don't have any, like, I never played them. So
Yeah,
like I'm coming in like completely fresh. I think we all are, aren't we?
Yeah.
I played it on GameCube.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. Yeah,
Um
I'm coming in fresh.
I would say obviously it's on Switch, so it's not going to look as good as like a Resident Evil 4 or a Dead Space. I think it looks okay.
Yeah,
Um I'm a little like the whole like scanning everything's a little obnoxious to me.
I
Mm.
can see that. Yeah.
Yeah, that part is like but I think it controls well. It definitely has that like old school shooter vibe to it. But I'm having fun with it. For me it's not on the level of a Dead Space or Resident Evil remake, I don't think. But again, I don't have that Metroid Prime nostalgia. The only Metroid nostalgia I have is the original on Nintendo. That's like the only one I really ever played. I didn't even play it on Super Nintendo. But yeah, it's decent so far. I'm gonna keep playing it for sure. I think they did a good job with it. I just have to kind of see it through. And then Barry, you didn't play PGA Tour, right? Okay,
I did
this is
not.
one we were kind of cautiously eyeing up, right?
Yeah, no, I'm very well. Like there
Yeah,
still aren't even reviews of it out, really.
no,
So it's like
no.
this. Nobody got advanced copies of this.
So here's the thing with it is we know what we want. You and I want from a golf game. It's let me create my character, let me start out in the amateurs, and let me just go, right? That's what you can do in this, which I appreciate. But they have added like, oh my god, like so much RPG elements to it that I'm just like, I don't know that I really want that in a
Hmm.
golf game. But as
Yeah.
far as playing the game, it looks good, but something feels off in the way it plays. I don't know what it is, but like when I swing and I'm like tapping a button to add spin, it just doesn't feel as good as I remember it feeling.
Okay.
Something is different enough that I'm just like, it's not quite the feel. I feel like the 2K one feels better right
Oh,
now,
okay.
which I prefer in the past EA for golf. But yeah, something I can't pinpoint it, but something in the way it controls and feels is just off enough that I'm not having a great time with it right now. So, I mean, I have the 10 hours. I'm probably going to try and use as much of that as I can and try to like see if it gets better over time. But right now, I'm not digging it very much. So be glad you didn't buy it.
Yeah, like for the most part, I do remember like old like EA Sports, Tiger Woods
Tiger.
2013 type
Mhm.
games where there was RPG elements, but I just know that
Right.
they've put RPG elements like into golf so much to where each club gives you different stats now. Like
Yeah.
you used just to be able to
Mm.
upgrade your power and your putting to like 99, and then like that's how you would upgrade your character is
Yeah, you had
continuing
like
that
your 10
portion.
stats that you would
Yeah.
just add attribute points to. That's all you need. I don't need all
Yeah.
this other stuff where it's like, all right, if
It's too
you
much.
yeah, you get like these skill badges and it's like 2K at this
Yeah.
point. I'm like, I
Exactly.
don't want that in a golf game. Just let me upgrade my attributes and let me go golf. That's all I want. It's
Yeah.
not
That's
hard.
why I bought the
You're
game. I
you're
bought the game to golf.
overthinking it. Yeah.
Yeah.
They're just way overthinking it now. But yeah, those are the three I played.
Okay. Um, Persona 4 Golden. Um, I'll finish that and then I'll say stuff about it. It's great. It's a Persona game. That's really that's without elaborating what it is. I want to talk just very briefly about the amazing game that is Resident Evil 4 remake and how
Yeah.
it makes me feel. I love it. So I'm weird, gentlemen. I'm not actually that weird. This is pretty common with certain people,
No,
but
you're weird.
I
You're weird.
had
You're weird.
I am
Righteous.
weird. I am weird. I am weird. You're right. It has to be dark. I can't. So
Yeah.
like, I start playing that now with it being the way it is. Not like fall back. We're spring forward. We're past spring forward now. So it has to be at least 8, 9, 10 p.m. Um, I I don't like the whole curtain with the sun coming in kind of thing. Like I gotta feel like it's dark. So that's kind of what has been limiting my play a little bit. But what I love about this game is how they were able to freshly transition you throughout this journey that Leon has to go through. New enemies are introduced in very, very paced ways. Areas are terrifying, and then they're not. Like you'll stop and you'll be like, I don't want to go in there. That's clearly an ambush or something like that. And then you have to. So like to clarify, Craig, just for you specifically, just so you know where I am.
Mhm.
I just hit the mines.
Okay. Yep.
So spoiler alert to all of you at home, there are mines in the game. There is a mine level.
Yep.
No.
No, we weren't
With mine
ready.
carts.
Yeah,
No.
no, and it's not your
Spoilers.
Donkey Kong carts.
Yep.
So I just got in the mines, and there are certain parts that I don't want to speak of until Barry has completed it.
Mhm.
But there
At
are
this rate, like
specific,
June.
Yeah.
yeah, there are certain parts that I hit any of the parts that you were excited for Barry and I to hit. I think I know the jump scare
Um,
that I think I know the
no,
jump
that's
scare that you were
later.
talking about. Is that later?
Mhm.
Okay,
Yeah,
there was
there's a well-known jump scare that is much later.
darn.
And
I
that
thought I hit
area is
one.
also where you will encounter what will be the most out of from this game, the most terrifying enemy.
Okay,
They're both in the same area. Not this
perfect.
that enemy is not the jump scare, but yeah, they're both in the same area.
All right, so that's the exciting part. Is like Craig's mentioning. I'm at chapter 11,
Mhm.
and they're still introducing new enemies and such like that. The areas are fresh. You make your way to this point. Like once a chapter is done, a new chapter unveils a bunch of different things that you have to go through. I don't know why the satisfaction of any dark areas and specifically how they're illuminated by Leon's light is something that I've noticed.
Mhm.
The dark areas are very creepy and very vivid. Um, and just the whole plaga and how you have to navigate battling them is where are you, Barry? What chapter are you in? Do you remember?
I think now I'm at the end of chapter 3.
Okay.
Okay.
I know I did one chapter since we last talked about it.
Okay, perfect. I just wanted to make sure. Yeah, so like navigating the plaga and like their different reactions to the weapons you're using. Um, I hate the dogs. I hate them. I hate dogs in video games. I love dogs in real life, everybody. Love dogs in real life. I hate video game bad dogs because of like how they move and how you're supposed to react, especially if the game's creepy or the dogs themselves are. But I guess the long story short, and I could obviously give a final review when I'm done with it, is I think this is one of my favorite games in a while. And I'm excited to play it. I love the inventory system. I understand. Did you guys know that there was a guy that made a game based on the inventory system?
Yes.
You can buy it on Steam. I
Mhm.
think it's like 20 to 25 levels, and it's just specifically the Resident Evil 4.
Everybody loves it. I
Yeah.
do.
I remember hearing something about that guy because he played it when he was younger on a black and white TV. That doesn't matter to where my review thus far. But in any case, um, it feels right. The weapons hit like the way I want them to, and the enemies are great. Ashley is annoying,
Yep.
but I hear she's less annoying than she actually was in
Oh
the
yeah.
original.
She's actually
So
somewhat competent in the remake.
yeah. So the one thing I will say is there are certain areas I thought were going to be tough and they weren't. I mean, I'm not playing it on like, the highest difficulty either, but I think it's a great blend actually. I'm not like annoyed at the difficulty at all. I think for like some people like us who game all the time, it's a healthy mix of high. That's it. That's what I wanted to say. Last thing, high tense moments. Great.
Mhm.
Oh my god, where this game does not throw like biohazard horror at you like Resident Evil Biohazard did. This game definitely throws the like, are you gonna live? Like you should probably run around. I couldn't imagine doing this with the old controls. Like I don't know how y'all beat this game with the old controls because there's definitely a lot of fleeing, or
Yeah.
like running around to get a better shot or a better angle kind of thing. So, but yeah, other than that, really like the game. As for now, it's in the top 3, but I know there's certain games we haven't
Good.
played yet, but it is in my top 3 for the year until it's unseated.
Yeah, that's
If
fair.
if it is.
Yeah. All right, so let's get into movies and TV shows we watched this week. For
Yes.
me, Craig, you mentioned how your parents played Tetris. I watched Tetris the movie from Apple
Same.
TV.
Sick.
I went back into the past because my mom wanted to watch this movie called Gifted, featuring Captain America, Chris Evans.
Yeah.
And I
And the
just
very
wanted,
young, what's her name?
yeah,
Right?
I do not remember the actress's name. And then I'm not sure if you guys want to talk about it. There's 2 more episodes left, but The Mandalorian and maybe where it's heading, or what's kind of changed
Okay.
about it. So
I got to catch up.
That's what I've watched.
I've
I
seen
do
all the
too.
cameos, but I'm like 3 episodes behind, I think.
Oh, okay.
I also watched Tetris. I watched Shazam, Fury of the Gods, and I watched A Man Called Otto, Tom Hanks.
Okay, you guys got some work done this week. I did not.
It's fair.
I kept up on the 2 that I'm going through, Yellow Jackets and School Spirits, and I'm finding that like with episode a week review, it's kind of hard because you don't want to spoil anything.
Agree.
Right.
Yeah, it is hard.
It's weird. They're both amazing shows. Just watch them. Watch trailers at home, and you guys listening and watching this podcast. For me this week, other than that, was an episode of Why the Heck Hasn't Craig Watched This? starring 2 things: Brooklyn Nine-Nine and Ted
Yes.
Lasso.
Oh,
Woo,
yeah.
You're on the
Yeah.
Ted Lasso train, huh?
On the
time.
Ted Lasso
Yes.
train.
About
So,
I mean, this new season's been great as
Yeah.
well. Without getting into anything, I think it's been phenomenal.
Yeah, and I agree. So I'll talk about the oldest movie that's
Sure.
on this list, and that's Gifted, 2013. It is a slice of life movie, I guess is what I'm gonna call it. Oh wait, no, it's 2017. My apologies. Um, Overall, it's a movie about Chris Evans, McKenna Grace, pretty much star in it. There's Jenny Slate in it as well. Octavia Spencer, like some of these actresses, like
Ooh.
actors and actresses, you will recognize them like from their faces for the most part. But Chris Evans ends up kind of adopting a child. You kind of learn that his sister dies, so he believes what he does is best for the child, runs away, but then there's a fight because the grandmother wants the child because the child's a genius, like gifted is what it is. So they are the movie kind of strings around like, is Chris Evans doing what's right for the child? What does the mother really want with all this? Chris Evans, is poor living in Florida. The mother is a very rich person, so you kind of learn more about it. And I surprisingly liked the movie. I did not think it would be as interesting as it is, but overall, like, I wanted to know what happened between these two. Chris Evans just plays a really good, dad figure to this girl, and it's you get to see him make mistakes that make sense that like people would make these mistakes in real life. It's not a movie
Mhm.
that's outlandish or crazy in any way. It's really grounded in reality, which I think is a lot different from all of the superhero stuff that we watch or the high octane action sequences that we get from John Wick. So overall, just a really cool movie. 2017. If you want a feel good movie, you can watch this one. This is a feel good movie.
Would you say the cast and crew were gifted
Oh my
in
god!
in their portrayal?
Here we go.
Mostly everybody. I think everybody does do a pretty good job of acting in this movie. So I'd say
Sick.
sure.
Sure.
Sure. I would say yes.
Tetris.
Yeah. We can
Let's
talk
talk
about
about
Talk
Tetris.
Tetris.
about it. Talk about it,
Uh,
gentlemen.
I like the movie. I didn't think it was too terrible. It's not anything spectacular either in my eyes. This is a very dramatized version um
Just a little.
of how Tetris got to the Game Boy, or
Hmm.
got packaged with the Game Boy. So overall, it again, in order to make it interesting, it has to be dramatized. I think it's just a fun little tiny. You get a very little historical aspect of what it took. Like
Yeah.
this movie is super dramatized for what it took to get Tetris onto the Game Boy, but it's doing it for entertainment reasons for the
Right.
most part. I do like how they scoot around, Mirror Soft,
Yeah.
is what they go with some of this stuff.
Mm,
You also have, Nintendo is actually a brand name that's used in
Mhm.
this, so I was kind of surprised that Nintendo allowed themselves to be a part of it. Really cool seeing like a Game Boy just working. I saw that scene and I'm like, ah, man, that this brings back
Yeah.
memory because I had an original Game Boy and that was a
yeah,
Same.
part of my childhood too.
same.
So, just overall, if you're looking for like a fun, if you're looking for a fun movie that's not going to require too much thought, this is cool. I think this is an entertaining enough movie. Taron Egerton, I think, does a good job of playing Hank, but I can't stand the way his name is spelled when you're
Yeah.
looking at subtitles.
How's it?
Hanke.
Henk.
Ah.
Oh, Henk. Yeah.
It's
Hank.
like,
Ooh,
yeah, it's
okay.
Hank.
Yeah.
Hank.
I
It's
mean,
it's
that's his real name.
it
So,
is. It is.
yeah.
It's just really funny.
Um, yeah, I mean, dramatized. Yes, I don't think they were ever in a car chase. But I know there was a lot of tension between trying to get the rights from Russia at the time. They didn't want to give up rights and all that went into it. But I thought it was really good. I enjoyed like kind of a mini history lesson on Tetris and how it was invented and how it ended up as the pack-in game for the Game Boy. I thought that part was kind of cool where they're talking about like, oh, we're going to pack in Mario and him being like, you could, but if you want to sell millions, you need to pack in Tetris. And at the time, I remember when I was a kid being like, why does it come with Tetris? But like it made sense because everybody wanted to play Tetris. But yeah, I thought it was Taron Egerton did a good job. It was entertaining. I liked them like incorporating like the 8-bit graphics into
Into
the
the art
movies. They
style,
did that.
yeah. Yep.
It's very cool how they do that. But yeah, I think it's done very well. Is it like a top 10 movie of the year? Probably not. But I enjoyed it. Yeah, I didn't
Mm,
look at my phone once. That's always a good sign. I think
that
that's
is
how
a
I
good
should
sign.
grade them from now on. Did I look at
Yeah.
my phone?
On a scale of 1 to phone.
Yeah. How many phone looks was it?
Yeah.
But yeah, overall good. And then for me, Mandalorian, um, I know I'm not going to go into too many spoilers about it, but I definitely, and this is just for me, I personally enjoy the focus that we're getting. Like, it's not just Din Djarin's kind of show here. Uh, Bo Katan seems to be a big part of what this is going to do, and the trailers for the next two episodes are really leaning toward this is going to change the Star Wars. I guess status quo is what I'm gonna call it. So
Mm,
I really don't know where this is going, to be honest, just because we have hints of a main villain like there in some places and in not in other places. But overall, I am a huge Star Wars Clone Wars fan, so we're getting Ahsoka, who's
Mhm.
like that series is gonna be awesome, and I love what we're getting with Bo Katan here. These are two characters from the Clone Wars that have made the jump to the canon Star Wars stuff, and it's been really worth it. I know people don't like people are really not liking the Mandalorian season this year because it's different from what the other two seasons were, but I'm all for it. It takes a lot for a show, I think, to be run by one character and a puppet.
Yeah.
uh you eventually need to bring in some other characters that are going to help move the story along, and Bo-Katan, I think, in a lot of ways is perfect for it. So, like, for me, I'm enjoying this season, but when you guys watch it, I want to know your thoughts as well.
of course.
I've I've been like watching it, but just not at the normal like, oh, I'm gonna watch it the day it comes out every week. What I think is interesting too is, John Favreau, when they had asked him like, what's your ending? How many seasons? And he said like, we don't really have an ending. We're just going until people don't really want to see it anymore. We may be getting to that point sooner rather than later.
Yeah.
Because it does seem like this is the season where everybody's like, I don't know. Because even I feel it a little bit where I'm like, I'm enjoying the episodes when I watch it, but I don't feel that urgency like I used to those first 2 seasons. Where I'm like, I got to watch the new episode. It's just not there for me. There has been a ton of cameos though.
Yeah, for
Holy
sure.
cow.
Ton of
Yeah.
cameos, and the space battles have no like business
Yeah.
being as good as they are. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I really hope they bring, the space battles that we're getting from in here into more Star Wars stuff, because space battles in here are being done right, and they're being done really well. It's
Yeah.
just we just need to see that movement from here over into other Star Wars. Give me a space squadron. Like, we already have Star Wars like Squadron on Xbox. Give me
Yep.
that, but just with Star Wars stuff at this point. That's my thinking.
I'd be down.
I like space battles. I don't know.
Yeah. No, they're always cool.
Who doesn't like space battles?
True. Is that the
All right,
last one?
that's it for me.
Okay. Shazam, Fury of the
Shazam.
Gods. Did you guys enjoy the first one?
I
I
did.
I didn't
did.
watch the first one.
Okay. You enjoyed it, Barry?
Yeah. Well, I like the
Okay.
second one.
Sure. This is it's
No
like
way.
it's the epitome of DC for me. It's just like it's enjoyable, but I just don't something about these movies are not grabbing me the way that the last phase of Marvel did. Because I can't even say like the new phase of Marvel are grabbing me like they used to. But I think it's done very well. I still think they rely too heavily on CGI for a lot
Yeah.
of things. Like there's a scene where they're just like on the roof of their school and like the whole thing is CGI. I'm like, why can't you just go stand on the roof of a school? Why do you have
Yeah.
to CGI it? I don't understand. I don't know. I don't know if it's cheaper, maybe, whatever. But yeah, I think it's better than it has been getting reviewed at because it's getting just demolished. Um, they all do a good job. The villains are kind of forgettable. The whole point of the movie is kind of forgettable. It's just kind of it's a vehicle to progress the story. There's a pretty interesting cameo, pretty funny cameo near the end. Yeah, I don't know. Like Shazam is so cool. I like Zachary Levi, so like I think he deserves to be in more. And I don't want to give anything away, but the after credit scene I thought was amazing because it's setting him up to be in another DC property that I am super excited for. So like when that happens, I'm there day one for that.
Cool.
Like that came out of nowhere, that end credit scene, and I was like, there's no way they're doing that. And I went, all right, I'm there. So that alone, I think you should watch it just to see where they're going to take his character. But yeah, it's an enjoyable 2 hours. You won't regret watching it, but I don't think it's a movie you need to watch again. I think that's probably the
Okay.
fairest way to put it.
Yeah, I think
Um, Go ahead.
I was gonna say, just like with Shazam, like I think it's also really hard for people to get into it, knowing that James Gunn is about to change everything. He's
Yep.
using this Flash movie as the big reset he needs in
Mm-hmm.
order to
Mm-hmm.
get everything going. So I agree with you. Zachary Levi is one of the few, I think, heroes casted that I think deserves to stay in his role. Like,
Yeah.
I
Yep.
I like that he's just not this super, and it has to go with the Shazam character itself, but he's not this super cocky, muscly dude like you get with Aquaman. Like, Aquaman never doubts himself, Superman never doubts himself.
Mm-hmm.
Shazam is a superhero as a kid, and I think Zachary Levi does a good job of portraying like both that he is a superhero, but
Yep.
also inside that superhero body is a kid.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
And,
it's yeah.
like regardless of what James Gunn is doing, like over here, the direction they're taking Shazam and Zachary Levi and who they're partnering him up with is going to be just fine.
Good. I hope so.
Yep. Yep.
I'm excited to
Uh,
watch that movie when it comes out for me.
and then Man Called Otto. This is a Tom Hanks movie from a book that I did not read. Um, I've had like my eye on this one for a while, and I just kind of been like putting it off because I wasn't too interested. But I enjoy Tom Hanks, so I was like, I gotta watch it at
Of
some point.
course.
What I will say is I did not expect it to be as good as it is. It's an extremely well done movie. It's an extremely depressing movie. Um, it's one of those movies where you get to the end and you're like, I need 8,000 boxes of tissues. It's one of those.
Yeah.
Um, but I thoroughly enjoyed this movie, and I did not expect to. Basic, concept is he is an old man living by himself who is just grumpy, angry at the world, always yelling at people. And he has some neighbors move across the street that kind of change his outlook. And when that trailer came out and I watched that, I was like, this looks so generic. Because I mean, even saying that sounds generic, but there's
Yeah.
other things going on there that are not in the trailer that when you watch it, you're like, oh, okay, this is a little dark. But yeah, it's a phenomenally well done movie. I definitely would recommend everybody check that out for sure.
Cool. All right. Craig, do you
And
want to give any updates on where you're at with either of your shows, or you just want to hold off until they're done?
I mean, I can hold off till they're done. What I'll just say, or I guess at least when I make some substantial, because like I mean, Brooklyn Nine-Nine is done, isn't it?
Yes. Yes.
Okay,
Hmm.
yeah. So I could just give I can give a done thing. We're gonna power through that. The what I will say is, I could spend like maybe 2 minutes making fun of myself. I don't know how somebody who loves The Office, Parks and Rec, and Reno 911 has not
Mhm.
watched this because that's what
Yeah.
they
How'd
give
you
you.
miss that?
I don't know. It's essentially a blend of all three of those things. Now I'm one of the rare bunnies. Rare bunnies? I'm one of the rare bunnies. I'll just go with it. That likes
I
Park and
don't
Rec.
know where that's coming from.
Rare bunnies. I like it.
I'm one of the rare bunnies that like reveres Park and Rec and The
Yeah.
Office. There's such a polarizing view of which one is better. You can literally break up a Thanksgiving table by bringing up that question.
It's Parks and Rec.
Um, yeah, it is. It is. But I love both of them. But like
Mhm.
you also sprinkle like Reno 911 because like I mean Brooklyn Nine-Nine has the briefings that you love from Reno 911 if you watch that show where it's just all out ridiculousness in the beginning. The characters are great. I like Andy Samberg. I was worried because Andy Samberg to me sometimes with his humor is almost like Eric Andre, where
Yeah.
I could take him in bits. Nick Kroll is also the same way to me.
Yes.
I can take them in a show, I could take them in bits, but if I watch like a project, sometimes I'm not as impressed. Like I watch the Eric Andre show in spurts. Like I can't watch like 80 million episodes of it at once.
That show is a
And Nick
lot.
Kroll,
Yeah.
yeah, and
Yeah.
Nick Kroll, I can't watch him outside of the league, to be honest, gentlemen. I watched a
Me
stand-up of
neither.
his.
Yeah.
He's not funny to me outside of the league,
Mm-mm.
or like, like cameos. But anyway,
Yeah.
Andy
He's pretty good in
Samberg,
Big Mouth. That's just a.
yeah, which I do have to
Yeah.
watch, so that might be the turnaround for me.
I,
But
I'm if you ever start watching Big Mouth, I'm interested to see what you think, because like Big Mouth is like that's an off the rails comedy, and like
Yeah.
it's not that Nick Kroll is the funny portion of it even to me either. So it's like I don't know. I'd be interested to see how you take it, considering he's a main character, but to me he's not the one that makes it funny.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, like that's something that I've definitely clicked past but wanted to eventually jump into because I do like a good animated series too, especially kind of like that raunchy one where maybe
Mhm.
you learn something too.
Oh, it's raunchy.
Um yeah, but
Yep.
um but yeah, great cast of characters. Love Andy Samberg. I like Terry Crews in almost anything that he's in. Troglio. I loved him and I Love You Man and like other stuff that he stars in. He always kind of puts his face and really elevates a lot of comedic shows and movies. I didn't know he was in that. Um, so
And
like the fact
Stephanie
that he was,
Beatrice,
Yes.
yes,
head
yes,
girl
and
of
Stephanie Beatrice,
Encanto.
She's
yeah,
great.
which she is. I like Gina
Yeah.
a
Yeah,
lot. Um,
It's fair.
but anyway, I'm probably going to be the show where like characters I switch between favorites and not favorites, or not favorites, but just who my favorite person is on the show. But yeah, I'll definitely give a take when I'm done. It's great. Gonna fly through that one. That one's great. Speaking of also flying through Ted Lasso,
Mhm.
how have I not watched this?
For real. We've been
I
talking about it forever too. How
You
dare
have
you?
been. And I know I thought of Craig and just essentially your family, because your family is just Ted Lasso fans.
Yeah.
Um, and when we started watching it, that was the first thing that I thought of, because there's also been some other people who have quoted Ted Lasso at my job recently. And I'm just like, how did I not watch this? But anyway, my wife and I gave it a shot. We watched the first 2 episodes. We're hooked. We can't wait. Perfect blend of comedy. Um, I like Ted Lasso's positive outlook on life. Literally, I like leaned over to my wife and said this while we were watching the first 2 episodes. I was like, "Is this just like the group of people that he's gonna win their hearts?" Like it's just setting up. It's just setting up just a story where you have to see Ted Lasso, and like without knowing, this is what I'm thinking, he's going to win over a bunch of people, especially because he's a football coach who is like commissioned to do I guess the world football, because like we're the
Right.
only ones who don't call it football. um But in any case, like I see how he was brought in as a ploy to go after the lady's ex-husband. So I see that storyline being interesting, but I can just kind of see. But like what I also want to see is Ted Lasso grow a larger set in some of these people that he's eventually going to have to sway into his favor, because he's a very genuinely positive guy. At least in the first 2 episodes, you could see part of him where there's not a positive part, which is his home life at home. um so like I'm just they introduce a great amount of side story arcs that I'm very interested to see, and like the way the reception that he's getting from the team, especially from the people who aren't on his side, I kind of want him to just like punch them in the face. So I can't wait till that verbal punch in the face happens as the season goes on, because there's no way he can coach this team without growing like more so of a stern side to go along with his, like, grass is always greener,
I can't
Stern
the
wait.
side.
I
bully,
can't
I
wait for you
know.
to keep
I
going.
love
the
I love
bully
Yeah.
your
sign.
description. Is your take on the show is so great. As like Barry and I sitting on the other side of where it goes and
Yeah,
seeing
like,
your prediction is great.
so like I can't wait. I can't wait to come back on this podcast after being caught up to where, essentially the show and you gentlemen are, to be able to give you a better insight. Shout out to Apple for having like a half-hour show.
Yes.
Thank you for it being a half-hour show, because I thought, I was like, oh, it's on Apple, so this is going to be an hour and a half. Like it's kind of like it's like, I don't know, it's a stigma that I felt, like much like an HBO series. It's like, oh, it's HBO, so you better put the old hour clock on it at
Yep.
least, but it's half hour, so I'm going to be flying through both. Brooklyn Nine-Nine is 20, and Ted Lasso's 30. I did not expect that. I thought it was going to be like a 45 or an hour, so I can't wait for a lot of reasons on both. So that'll take a lot of my
You're
time.
kind of picking the best time to pick up to it too. This
Yeah.
is pretty much going to be the last season, from what I hear. Like it's
Mhm.
almost all but
How
confirmed.
many does
It's
it
the
have?
last season. The 3.
3.
We're on the 3rd season, so
Oh,
you can
sick.
catch up
Okay.
very easily. And
Yeah.
like if you pace yourself, particularly too, you may be able to like binge the last 3 episodes as that last episode's coming out. So I'm
Yeah.
interested to
Let's
see how you go
go.
through with it as well. But overall, you're gonna love this series like just as much as we do. Like you are
Yep.
now part of the Ted Lasso convert,
Yeah.
is what we are. So I'm glad you're watching it.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
the
One of
cherry on top. Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
I was just gonna say the last thing, cherry on top, was finding out where he was getting those biscuits, by the way, in the first 2 episodes.
Yeah. It's just one of the
I was
most
like, oh,
beautiful depictions of mental health I think I've ever seen in a show.
Yeah.
Honestly,
okay.
they handle it so well. But yeah, that's like one of the top shows of all time for me now.
Just depends on how it ends, which I don't think they're gonna drop the ball with. So
No, it doesn't look like it
yeah.
for sure.
Also, shout out to Jason Sudeikis too, because I've enjoyed his career,
Yep.
and
Who
I
knew
just
he
didn't
could do something
expect.
like this?
Yeah. Right?
Exactly. That's exactly. So yeah, that's it
All
for
right.
me.
Well, thank you guys for listening. That's going to be it for this week's podcast. If you're interested, please make sure to share it with a friend or review it on your podcast listening platform of choice. If you're interested, feel free to follow us on Twitter, subscribe on YouTube and like the video, and follow us on Twitch. I'm trying to be more active on Twitter. I think it's going to work. We're getting there. I'm working on it. But again, all the support we've been getting on YouTube, to those liking the video and commenting, thank you so much. We really
Yes.
Yeah,
appreciate it.
thank you guys.
The fact that I continue to see growth month over month, like I continue to feel more joy out of like editing and doing all this and getting it up. So
Yeah.
I appreciate you guys for doing that. And
Same with
for
the
those of us that,
people commenting on Instagram stuff too. We appreciate
yeah,
that.
Yeah.
Nice to see that.
All the
yeah, liking
engagement.
it,
Yeah.
sharing it, it's all really
Mhm.
nice, and I'm always heartwarmed by the people who want to support us. So thank you, just really overall. But with that, enjoy the rest of your guys' week, and we'll see you next time. Bye.
Later, guys.